War and murder are not the same, no matter how hard many try to conflate the two in order to demonize Israel. War is a terrible evil, but war is not murder. Casualties of war and murder are not the same. Murder, sexual abuse, and other atrocities are indefensible, grave evils. War is a terrible evil, but at times necessary. It was the only way, for example, to have stopped the genocidal, mass-murdering Hitler and company, the Khmer Rouge, the genocide in Rwanda, genocidal ISIS, and more. Even in war, murder, sexual abuse, and other atrocities are prohibited and are still crimes against humanity. War at times can be defended, unlike murder, sexual abuse, mutilation, and other atrocities which are indefensible, which are never defensible. No matter how hard many try to defend murder, sexual abuse, and other atrocities by deflection, denial, projection, whataboutism, the use of past or present grievances or injustices, real or imagined, to defend present-day crimes against humanity like murder, sexual abuse, mutilation, and other atrocities, or something else, the fact remains that nothing justifies or excuses murder, sexual abuse, mutilation, desecration of bodies, and other atrocities. Children always die in war. Many are those that exploit the deaths of children in Gaza in order to demonize Israel. Hamas entered into Israel on October 7th, 2023, and murdered defenseless people that posed no threat. Hamas and company murdered babies, children, defenseless people of all ages, in addition to committing sexual abuse, mutilation, desecration of bodies, and other atrocities. Hamas murdered, which is different than war. Hamas spent billions of dollars on terror tunnels underground from which to wage war and hide, and not a single penny on bomb shelters above ground for civilians. Hamas protected themselves and wanted civilian casualties, which is why they left the civilians above ground unprotected while they were safe. Many times when Israel warned they were going to bomb a building that Hamas was using to wage war, telling the civilians to evacuate, warning the civilians to evacuate, Hamas ensured that no one evacuated in order to maximize civilian casualties. The deaths of Gazans not allowed to evacuate are Hamas's sick version of martyrdom and way to win their sick propaganda war. Hamas uses hospitals, schools, mosques, and other civilian structures from which to wage war, including shooting rockets, missiles, assault rifles, and other weapons in violations of the rules of war. If terrorists know that they can freely wage war and terror, operating out of civilian structures without being attacked, there will be no end to their use of kindergartens, nurseries, hospitals, schools, apartment buildings, mosques, and other religious structures from which to wage endless war and terror. Civilian structures are not exempt from attack when they are being used for military purposes. If Hamas did not use civilian structures and civilians themselves to hide behind and beneath and from which to wage war, civilians, including children, would not have died in Gaza from war. Hamas supporters want to free Hamas of responsibility for the casualties of war that Hamas themselves caused. All they have done is embolden Hamas and help keep the war and killing continue. In all wars, there are casualties of war. The only way to prevent child deaths and casualties of war is to stop waging war and terror. Do not go into a country, even if you think the country has no right to exist, and indiscriminately murder civilians expecting no consequence. The failure to hold Hamas accountable for their war crimes, not only for their mass murdering inside of Israel on October 7th, but for waging war using civilian structures, for using civilians and children to hide behind and beneath, for using child soldiers, for brainwashing an entire generation of children into believing their only purpose in life is to murder Jews, for indiscriminately attacking and firing rockets and missiles into Israel's civilian populations, and more, only embolden Hamas to keep the killing and war alive. The war crimes, the blood on their hands, are on Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and their many supporters around the world. They exploit the children of Gaza and complain about child casualties, yet want more killing, hoping it is Israelis that die. In any war, deaths, including civilian deaths, are most often disproportionate. Right and wrong are not determined by proportionality in death. The fake tears and fake outrage continues for the children of Gaza, but none for the far, far greater number of children dying in the wars, terrorism, and genocides raging in the Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Ukraine, Myanmar, Syria, Congo region, and far more, because in North Nigeria also, because the rage and tears have everything to do about who can be blamed and not about children themselves.